What is up, guys? It's your boy, sick as a dog cactus. Your boy is suffering. But today, we've got some brand spanking new Destiny 2 news, courtesy of the Bungie weekly update that has just gone live one day early, revealing official information. And so, let's get started. But just before we do...
Oh my gosh, I found you!
Oh, hey!
What are you doing?
You know, I came out here to be one with nature, escape life's distractions, you know what I'm saying?
Is that Raid Shadow Legends?
Oh, this? Yeah, well, listen, as much as I want to be one with nature, the Demon Lord clan boss isn't gonna beat itself, and my team is counting on me, okay?
You must really love Raid.
I sure do, which is why they're today's sponsor. Now, Raid is all about using strategy to develop teams with your awesome champions. But if you're a new player, I'm gonna give you guys a massive head start today. How does 5 free champions sound? First of all, use promo code MONKEYKING to get the legendary champion Sun Wukong. Absolutely meta in PvP right now, and used a ton in Hydra as well thanks to his buff stripping ability. That's not all. If you click the link in the description down below, you're gonna get 2 epic champions to start your account. Lightsworn will help your team stay alive with his Revive on Death and increased defense ability. And then we have Juliana that new players can get after reaching level 15, who can do some absolute damage to enemy bosses. But that's not all. 24 hours after getting Sun Wukong, you can use promo code RAID to get this. War Maiden is one of the best decreased defense champions in the game for new players. Gonna absolutely pair wonderfully with Sun Wukong to nuke. And everyone can use the code ILOVEFREESTUFF to get another rare champion, Preserver, and some other awesome bonuses. But as always, there's so much going on in Raid. They just introduced a new Champion Pass feature where you can get Xena Warrior Princess. That feeling inside you tingling, that's nostalgia, baby. Thank you to Universal Studio for the licensing. So, if you haven't started Raid, trust me, this is the time. Starting with a Sun Wukong is going to be so huge. Simply click the link in the description down below or scan the QR code up above. Guys, what are you waiting for? Alright, now first things first, what's been going on this week within Destiny 2? Well, it's the final week of Season of the Witch, leading into Season of the Wish. So I did do a prep guide. If you guys want to do some things that will give you a massive head start in the new season, definitely check that out. Now, moving on from there, earlier in the week, Bungie announced their newest collab. As you can see right here, we're getting Witcher-themed armor sets, and they admittedly look super sweet. So definitely huge shout out to the designers for this, because again, it looks amazing. However, this did come with a little bit of controversy. As you can see right here, in a tweet by JP Deathblade that really popped off, he points out that you can actually buy The Witcher 3 and all of its DLCs for less than it would cost you to buy one of these 3 Destiny 2 armor sets. Yeah, Bungie's really gonna have to reevaluate their pricing, because that's insane. If you guys haven't played The Witcher, it's such a phenomenal game. You know, the value, I'm starting to think, is really leaning towards The Witcher plus all the DLCs. But regardless, it is still a sweet armor set coming in next season. Now, moving on from there, some really, really massive information about Season of the Wish here, guys. Bungie revealed all of the new artifact perks coming next season. So let's start here with column 1. We have anti-barrier sidearm, unstoppable hand cannon, unstoppable bow, overload auto rifles, and overload pulse rifles. Moving on from there in column 2, this is where things get a lot more interesting. We have Flame, Fiber, and Freeze. Combines the Solar and Strand and Solar and Stasis siphon mods into one. Very cool. Then we have Kindling Trigger. Radiant causes solar weapons to apply Scorch to unscorched combatants. So every single one of your solar weapons can now apply Scorch? That seems really, really good. Moving on from there, we have Blast Radius. Rapid final blows with rocket launchers and grenade launchers grant armor charge. Alright, now moving on from there, we have Origin Perk Specialization 1. So improves the benefits provided by the Sundering, Nano Munitions, and Nanotech Tracer Rocket Origin traits. Additionally, weapons with these traits are always overcharged. Then we have From Whence You Came. increases ability damage to taken and scorned combatants. This could be pretty important because presumably in Season of the Wish, it's going to take place, a lot of it on the Dreaming City. I would imagine potentially the new dungeon is going to be on the Dreaming City and you're going to be fighting a lot of taken within it. Now moving on from there, column 3, we have Flint Striker. Rapid solar weapons, precision hits, and rapid solar weapon final blows grant radiant. Okay, then we have Torch. While radiant, deal increased weapon damage to combatants affected by Strand and Stasis debuffs. Then we have Heart of Flame. Casting your solar super grants nearby allies radiant and increases the damage of your super for each nearby ally? I would certainly imagine the Titan using Burning Maul combined with the, I think, Pyroclastic Flow, the new exotic gauntlets that turn it into a one slam mega damaging hit. Like, that could be insane if you're in a fire team of 6 in a raid, for example. Wow, that could be really, really good. Now, moving on from there, we have Origin Perk Specialization 2, improves the benefits provided by the Noble Deeds, Unsated Hunger, Head Rush, and Dragon's Vengeance origin traits. Additionally, weapons with these traits are always overcharged. And then lastly, we have Wished into Being. While your super is nearly fully charged, ability final blows spawn orbs of power. Wearing Season of the Wish armor decreases super amount threshold? So this is a very unique one, and if I'm reading this correctly, it's saying that as you get close to charging your super, you're going to start to spawn those orbs of power to just get your super quicker, and then if you're wearing a bunch of Season of the Wish armor, you know, you won't need 75% to be able to start doing that. Maybe you'll only need 50% to be able to start spawning orbs of power, right? And that's really interesting. Like, we haven't really seen an actual artifact perk incorporate wearing seasonal armor. This is something that really has never happened before. Moving on from there, however, we have column 4. We have Unraveling Orbs. Picking up an Orb of Power grants Strand Weapons Unraveling rounds. That actually is pretty good. Then we have Pillar of Ice. Killing an encased combatant spawns stasis crystals. Then we have Revitalizing Blast. Causing damage with a solar ability weakens champions and bosses for a short duration. Then we have Overload Rocket Launchers. Rocket launchers are especially effective against Overload champions. Okay, Overload rocket launches is definitely a really interesting one. And then lastly, we have Dragon's Bite. Breaking a combatant's shield with a strand or stasis weapon has a chance to suspend or freeze that combatant. Wearing Season of the Wish armor increases this chance, so we have that same effect coming up again. But moving on from there, guys, we have the final column 5. This is where we find the most insane artifact perks. So first of all, we have Horde Shuttle. Damaging unraveled targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a threadling. Then we have Hail the Storm. Shattering encased targets and stasis crystals deals increased damage. Shattering a stasis crystal releases shards of ice that damage and slow targets. Wow. Then we have Rays of Precision. While Radiant Solar Precision final blows cause combatants to ignite. Now remember, ignite is the massive explosion you get, from causing a bunch of scorch stacks. Igniting just with solar precision final blows, that's insane. Then we have Solo Operative. While you are the only member of your fire team, you deal increased damage to all combatants? Solo player's dream right there, wow. And then lastly, we have Argent Ordnance. So firing a rocket launcher consumes 1 stack of armor charge, granting increased damage and reload speed until you reload or stow your rocket launcher. So that Argent Ordnance has been in the game before, in the old mod system, so this is a pretty interesting one. It means that you basically get that damage boost. It usually doesn't stack if you're in a well. Argent Ordnance doesn't give you even more damage, but it means that, if you're solo, if you're doing content where you can't have a well or you can't become radiant, you can put this on and still get a huge boost to your rocket launcher damage. Now, moving on from there, guys, we have ability changes coming next week. So here's a preview of the coming sandbox tuning in Season of the Wish and beyond. So, Bungie says, we believe that powerful abilities need to come at a meaningful cost to the player to force difficult decisions about what fits best in their build. To put it plainly, we're not hitting that goal. There are many build crafting avenues that grant flat chunks of ability energy and ignore ability cooldown tiers. This gives them extremely inconsistent value depending on what grenade, melee, or class you have equipped. Here's an example. A perk that grants 10% grenade energy on activation results in a cooldown reduction of 6.4 seconds for Firebolt grenade, but results in a cooldown reduction of 15.2 seconds for a lightning grenade. So they say with Season of the Wish, we're taking a first step in addressing that problem. Starting in update 7.3.0, the base passive cooldown tiers for abilities will also influence the amount of chunk energy they receive from perks. For our fastest charging abilities, things are not changing, but as we progress through the passive cooldown tiers into the slower charging abilities, that immediate burst of energy will be reduced to a floor of 50% of the base of our slowest charging grenade and class abilities, and 60% for our slowest charging melee abilities. So here's that stat example under the new system. A perk that grants a base value of 10% grenade energy on activation results in a cooldown of 6.4 seconds for Firebolt grenade and results in a cooldown of 7.6 seconds to lightning grenade. And essentially this is gonna basically mean that you're not getting a massive chunk off the slowest cooldowns in the game, and basically you're not able to cheese getting the best abilities that have the slowest cooldowns as fast as possible. Now, moving on from there, they say with Season of the Wish, we're only implementing this change for grenade, melee, and class abilities. Perks that add super energy are unchanged. We're also excluding any perk that either intentionally grants a full refund, like Knock 'em Down, or targets only a single specific ability like Shinobu's Vow. These will still work identically to their behavior in the live game. Moving on from there, we have a section called Staying Alive, with Bungie saying, as our roster of player-elected difficulty activities has expanded in the recent years, we've shifted the sandbox to enable more of our often risky gameplay loops to feel effective against increasingly difficult lineups of combatants. This can be seen in the addition of more defensive or support-focused tools, including the standardization of overshields, expanded access to healing through restoration and cure, and the development of keywords like woven mail. However, they're taking some of those things a step backwards to continuously make things challenging. So with woven mail, guys, they're going to reduce the damage resistance versus PvE combatants from 55% down to 45%. And then we have some changes to restoration. So they've reduced the heal rate of restoration times 1. So old, it was 40 health per second in PvE and 20 in PvP, and new, it's 35 health per second in PvE and 17.5 in PvP. Then they've reduced the healing rate at restoration times 2. Old, it was 65 in PvE and 32.5 in PvP, and new 50 in PvE and 25 in PvP. Then we have Devour. So the healing amount, both on activation and when refreshed, reduced from a full heal to 100 HP unless Feed the Void is equipped. Now refills both health and shield sections more smoothly rather than adding health to each section separately. And then for Feed the Void, increased grenade energy regeneration per kill while Devour is active. This amount varies based on the type of target defeated. Now also improves the strength of Devour's heal when equipped. Moving on from there, guys, we have a section on sprint and slide melees. So in a past update, we made the decision to remove the capability for shoulder charge abilities to one-shot players. And this was part of an ongoing effort to make sure that one-shot abilities come with a significant amount of risk. The problem is that players are currently able to circumvent this change by sliding, firing their weapon, and still being able to initiate a shoulder charge or slide melee. This results in an effective one-shot kill. So, sprint and slide activated melees can no longer be activated after a player fires their weapon during a slide. So, this is what it affects: Seismic Strike, Shield Bash, Hammer Strike, Howl of the Storm, Consecration, Flechette Storm, Lightning Surge, and Tempest Strike. Speaking of Tempest Strike, they've increased the base melee from 110 to 125, they reworked tracking behavior to be more consistent at longer ranges, and they've improved consistency when traveling over through rough terrain. And moving on from there, we have Bonk Hammer and Banner of War. As a Titan main, I shudder reading that because I kind of know what's coming. So, with Season of the Wish, we released Banner of War, which has quickly jumped to the top of the aspect list for Titan players. It's currently equipped for nearly 20% of all Titan playtime for Season of the Wish PvE activities. Yeah, it's insane. So, with Banner of War, they've increased the number of enemy defeats necessary to level up Banner by approximately double and increased the amount of time added per enemy defeat at each level to compensate. These values vary depending on the type of the target defeated. And they've fixed an issue where unpowered swords were being granted a damage boost by Banner of War. Honestly, not too bad. I was expecting a bigger nerf, and I'm still going to be rocking Banner of War for the near future. Moving on from there, we have to talk about Bonk Hammer. So specifically for Throwing Hammer, when picked up, now returns melee energy over 1.4 seconds rather than instantly. And they've increased projectile tracking strength by about 20%. So no longer will you be able to just like throw. Now it is significantly nerfed. So that's definitely going to, I would imagine, like end the Bonk Hammer builds. You can certainly still run them, but it's going to be nowhere near as powerful as it once was. Moving on from there, we also have a nerf to Sol Invictus. They've reduced the maximum sunspot duration from 20 seconds all the way down to 12 seconds, and this duration is only ever reached when the player is standing inside the sunspot. Sunspot duration without the owner standing, and it remains unchanged at 5 seconds. Then, oh boy, the Well of Radiance and Ward of Dawn. So, for Well of Radiance and Ward of Dawn, they've increased the base cooldown time from 417 seconds to 455 seconds. Honestly, not that bad. I was expecting worse, but you're not going to be able to get those abilities as often. Moving on from there, we have the near and slightly farther future of Stasis. So we actually have a lot of different changes here. Bungie says, starting in Season of the Wish and continuing in the final shape, we're making a number of quality of life changes to improve Stasis's reliability in combat, and we're reevaluating some of our previous tuning changes for Stasis abilities with the goal of bringing them up to the current abilities power bar. So, for the fragments, Whisper of Hadrons removed the -10 strength penalty. Awesome. Whisper of Impetus now provides +10 resilience. Whisper of Shards no longer provides +10 resilience. Whisper of Hunger, stat penalty changed from -10 mobility and -10 intellect to -20 strength. And Whisper of Bonds removed the -10 discipline penalty. Now for Hunters, Withering Blade increased projectile speed by 10%, increased maximum projectile lifetime by 10%, increase maximum bounce count from 2 to 3, and increased tracking consistency. Then for Winter's Shroud, increased slow stacks applied to PvE combatants from 40 to 60, increased slow duration applied to PvE combatants from 4 seconds to 8 seconds, and increased slow detonation size versus PvE combatants from 8 meters to 9 meters. Now moving on from there, for Titans, Shiver Strike now slows players on hit, a behavior previously removed in a much earlier hotfix. Then fixed an issue where Shiver Strike would not function with the melee kickstart armor mod. Then for Glacial Quake, now freezes nearby players on cast, a behavior previously removed in a past hotfix, and on cast freeze impulse size versus players has been reduced from 8 meters to 6 meters. So it's kind of interesting, you're seeing like Bungie revert a lot of the really early nerfs when Stasis like first came out and was absolutely popping off. But remember, that was in a world before, you know, the 3.0 changes to all these other elements, so everything else has, you know, been brought up in power quite dramatically. Moving on from there, for Howl of the Storm, fixed an issue where Howl of the Storm was not consistently freezing targets in contact with the created Stasis crystals. Then for Warlocks, Frost Pulse, significantly increased consistency against fast-moving targets. This change involved reworking how this ability applies, freezing to targets, reducing the latency between when the ability is activated and when the target is actually frozen, and the freeze detonation size versus PvE combatants has been increased by 0.5 meter. Then for Penumbral Blast, increased detonation size when impacting environment from 1.5 to 2 meters. Then we have Glacier Grenade, reduced base cooldown from 152 seconds to 121 seconds. And the cooldown penalties for Dustfield Grenade and Cold Snap Grenade when Bleak Watcher is equipped have also been updated so that their cooldown times match the new Glacier Grenade cooldown time. Then for Cold Snap Grenade, fixed an issue where the Seeker was not consistently created in the direction the projectile was moving after a bounce, and they've increased the arming shape size from 0.9 meters to 1.4 meters, and the tracking strength now ramps down from full strength to 0 over the course of the grenade's lifetime, rather than immediately turning off after the Seeker has reached 0.5 lifetime. Then for freeze in general, increased special ammo, a damage bonus versus frozen targets from 5% to 10%, like that's nothing to scoff at. And guys, Bungie says these aren't the only changes for Stasis that we have in the works, and we have some long requested changes for a future release that we'll discuss once they're closer. Here's a quick sneak preview. First of all, a new Stasis keyword that we're tentatively calling Frost Armor, aimed at addressing some of the player feedback regarding survivability when running Stasis, particularly when not using Whisper of Rime and Whisper of Chains. Alright, then we have additional tuning changes and reworks for existing Stasis fragments and adding additional behavior to the harvest aspects. And then guys, we still have some more here. We have upcoming exotic armor and armor mod changes. So for the Hunter, the Shards of Galnor, throwing knife kills now grant super energy ranging from between plus 2.5% and plus 5% depending on the type of enemy killed. Ophidia Spade, knife kills now grant a stacking damage bonus, so plus 30%, 60%, and 100% for 5 seconds to throwing knives. Dodging refreshes the duration. Interesting. For Stompies, guys, they've removed the requirement to have a full class ability to benefit from the movement bonuses. They've reduced the airborne lateral acceleration bonus and now provides damage resistance against combatants while airborne. Like, Stompy has just got a huge buff there. Then for Mechaneer's Trick Sleeves, the sidearm damage bonus now persists for 5 seconds after your shields begin to recharge. Sidearm kills extend the damage bonus's duration by 3 seconds and completely reload your sidearm from reserves, and the damage bonus has been reduced in PvP to compensate for it lasting longer. It's now plus 10% sidearm damage, down from plus 35. Then the Bombardiers now applies 20 slow stacks to enemy players and 40 slow stacks to PvE combatants. Then Triton Vice, increased glaive melee damage bonus while surrounded to plus 100% for both PvE and PvP, up from plus 30% in PvE and 10% PvP. That's a massive increase right there. Then Celestial Nighthawk, precision kills now grant super energy ranging from plus 5% and plus 4.5% depending on the target type killed. Moving on from there, however, we have Titan. For the Severance Enclosure, increased size and damage of the explosion, Kills with this exotic's explosion will now trigger an additional explosion, and Peregrine Greaves. You now have to be airborne for a brief time before the exotic effects will apply, but damaging champions, tormentors, or mini-bosses with a shoulder charge deals further increased damage and refunds their melee energy. That seems kind of insane. Then we have the Worm God Caress. The Burning Fist exotic effect has been reworked. It is now a meter that increases with melee kills and finishers and decays over time. So the meter is broken up into 5 sections that provide escalating melee and glaive melee damage bonuses. The upper end of the meter also provides escalating weapon damage bonuses. As the meter decays, it passes back through the earlier tiers rather than deactivating immediately. The meter decays more quickly the more full it is. Alright, then we have the Ashen Wake. Fusion Grenade impacts now stun unstoppable champions. Pretty niche, but there you have it. Then the Syntheseps. They've removed the extended melee lunge distance, now improves weapon handling and reload speed while surrounded. They've reduced the PvE surrounded melee damage bonus to plus 165% from 200%, and they've increased the glaive melee bonus to plus 100% from plus 50%. Then the Precious Scars. Kills with weapons matching your subclass now apply Restoration Tier 1 for 1.5 seconds in PvP and 3 seconds in PvE. Then the Warlock. First of all, the Baladros Wrathweavers. So now when you cast a Frost Pulse Rift, nearby allies gain Tier 2 Stasis Surge weapon bonus for 10 seconds in PvE and 5 seconds in PvP. They also gain 50 HP overshield. That seems awesome. The stasis damage bonus provided to allies by the Winter's Wrath Shockwave is now the Tier 4 Stasis Surge weapon bonus. When your Winter's Wrath ends, you gain the Tier 4 Stasis Surge weapon bonus as well. Then for Apotheosis Veil, casting your super now grants Cure Tier 3 to you and all your allies, and when your super ends, you now temporarily gain increased melee and grenade regen for 8 seconds. Then for Fellwinter's Helm, moved the size of the weakening burst and the duration of the weakening up 1 tier against all targets, except for finishers against bosses, which remains the maximum size and duration. Then Karnstein Armlets. Melee kills now grant Cure Tier 3 and Restoration Tier 1 for 8 seconds, and finishers grant Cure T3 and Restoration Tier 2 for 8 seconds. Then the Aeon Cult. So the Aeon Swift, Aeon Safe, and Aeon Soul exotic armors have all received the following changes to their sect mods. So, Sect of Force. This has been reworked to be all about providing your allies a significant bonus weapon damage against powerful combatants. So rapid precision hits provide quicker reload and weapon swap speeds. The bonus now lasts for 10 seconds, up from 6. No longer grants bonus melee grenade or super energy on stunning a champion or defeating a boss or mini boss. Instead, stunning a champion or rapid precision hits against champions, elites, or mini-bosses will mark them for your allies. Allies deal plus 20% more damage to marked targets. That's a lot. When a target is first marked, nearby Aeon Cult allies who do not have the Sect of Force role equipped gain grenade and melee energy. Then we have Sect of Insight. So, it has a strong role in PvE teams, and we didn't want to change that. So, nearby Aeon Cult allies who do not have the Sect of Insight role equipped no longer gain a bonus to weapon damage for a short time. Instead, they gain a burst of super energy. Then, for Sect of Vigor, now provides damage resistance against combatants when an ally dies or is resurrected, in addition to the existing class ability energy. When you cast your super, nearby allies no longer gain an instant burst of healing or an overshield. Instead, nearby critically wounded allies gain damage resistance from combatants as long as they stay near you. Nearby Aeon Cult allies who do not have the Sect of Vigor role equipped will also recover class ability more quickly. And then guys, moving on from there, we are almost done. We have armor mod changes. So for heavy-handed, firepower, and reaper, these now have a 10-second cooldown for generating an orb of power. Reaper now also requires a kill to be secured within 10 seconds of using your class ability. Then for melee, grenade, and utility kickstart, now provides between plus 16% and plus 45% ability energy and requires at least a single armor charge to be consumed. And for momentum transfer, bolstering detonation, impact induction, and focusing strike now provide 12%, 17%, 20% ability energy for 1, 2, or 3 stacks respectively, and require a powered melee attack. Then for outreach and bombardier now provides 12, 17, 20% ability energy for 1, 2, 3 stacks respectively. Outreach, bomber, and distribution. Outreach and bomber now provide 12, 17, 20 ability energy. Distribution now provides 4%, 6%, or 7% ability energy, and energy provided is further reduced based on the cooldown of the class ability used, with the shortest cooldowns reducing it by 60%. Okay. And then guys, massive addition coming next season, Fireteam Finder. So they say after almost 2 years of hard work, we will start Fireteam Finder's beta test shortly after Season of the Wish launches. Starting on November 30th, players will have access to the first public raids stress test of the new group finding tool while we gather data to help get things working smoothly. Now they say the first test will focus only on raids, and be aware that this is one of the most ambitious launches we've had in Destiny for a long time, so please be patient and share with us all of your feedback. And certainly guys, I think this will be like a huge change. Having an actual in-game Fireteam Finder, like for new players who don't want to have to go and deal with LFGs and stuff, like this is going to let so many more players experience end-game content that requires Fireteams. And so guys, that's it for all the information you need to know about. I hope you guys enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus, that is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.